Hi, I'm Soraya Mia. Welcome to AWANI Tonight. A study by the Statistics Malaysia Department involving a total of 6,657 P-hailing workers found that 97.71% of them were youths aged 15 to 30. In a statement, the Statistics Department said a study conducted from March 1st to December 31st, 2022 found that almost 74% of P-hailing workers treated the occupation as their main source of income, while at least 70% make it their main occupation. The findings also show that most P-hailing workers had an education level of Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia SPM or Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia Vocational SPMV or equivalent at 39.54%, diploma or equivalent at 23.24%, and bachelor's degree 11.79%. The Statistics Department also said there was an increase in the income of P-hailing workers after participating in food and goods delivery, with the highest number of them earning between 1,501 ringgit to 2,499 ringgit at 26.78%, followed by 1,500 ringgit and below at 23.39%, and 2,500 to 3,170 ringgit at 11.67%. Meanwhile, only 36.61% of P-hailing workers have their own savings or investments, while more than half, or 63.39%, do not have any savings. The study found that the top 5 reasons P-hailing workers joined the service were to cover daily expenses, help the family, have flexible working hours, to save, and not to be bound by rules or employment contracts. The Statistics Department said that there were 5 strategic focuses covering 19 initiatives and 19 action plans proposed as a result of the study, including ensuring that the welfare of the P-hailing workers were protected under labor legislation or the equivalent, and providing appropriate complaint and communication channels to resolve disputes between service providers and workers. Meanwhile, the heads of government in 6 states yet to call state elections will meet next week to discuss a suitable date to dissolve their respective legislative assemblies. Penang Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow, who said it was the Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Amiruddin Shahri who initiated the meeting.
He added that the time frame for the respective states to dissolve the state assemblies is getting narrower. The 6 states opted not to hold concurrent polls when the 15th general election was held on November 19th last year, saying they would prefer to do it closer to the expiry of their 5-year mandates between May and August this year. Penang, Selangor and Negeri Sembilan are controlled by Pakatan Harapan, which is part of the federal ruling government. Kedah, Kelantan and Terengganu are led by PAS, which is a component of the Perikatan Nasional Coalition that is in the opposition in parliament.
Malaysia's curriculum is comparable to its neighbouring countries such as Singapore and Japan. Education Minister Fadlina Siddiq said this was based on a comparative study the ministry conducted, which also involved comparing Malaysia's curriculum to that of Australia, the United Kingdom and Finland. In a written parliamentary reply, the Nibong Tebal MP said the aim of the primary school curriculum, especially at level 1, was to foster physical, cognitive, mental, emotional, social, spiritual and moral development. Fadlina was responding to a question by Sri Gading MP from Pakatan Harapan, Aminul Huda Hassan, who asked about the ministry's action regarding the discrepancy of level 1 curriculum with the ages of standard 1 to standard 3 children. Former Wanita UMNO Chief Tan Sri Shahrizad Abdul Jalil is aiming to make a comeback by making an official bid for the post. The former cabinet minister claimed that she joined the race for the wing's top post due to requests of the supporters.
Shahrizad was Wanita UMNO chief from 2009 to 2018. She is expected to face incumbent Wanita chief Datuk Sri Dr. Noraini Ahmad for the post. Nominations for the UMNO party election started on February 13th and will continue until February 26th. The election of division office bearers and its Supreme Council will be held simultaneously on March 18th, while the election for the party wings, Wanita, Youth and Putri, will be held on March 11th.
Several Malaysian telco providers have announced a new prepaid mobile internet plan in response to the government's recent announcement of the Pakej Perpaduan. The new prepaid mobile internet plan will be available starting from February 28th until December 31st this year. It offers customers speeds of up to 3 megabits per second and 30 gigabyte data quota for a period of 6 months at the cost of only 30 ringgit.
Telco operators that will roll out the new plan include Celcom DG, Maxis, Unify Mobile, U-Mobile and Yes. Pakej Perpaduan replaces the current Pakej Remaja, which for the same price offered only 3 months validity, 20 gigabyte data quota and 1 megabit per second speed. Like the Pakej Remaja, the 30 ringgit pricing will be a one-off fee for 6 months of validity rather than a monthly subscription. The Pakej Perpaduan is a government initiative aimed at providing support to underserved communities, with those who qualify being youths under age 30, senior citizens age 60 and above, veterans, persons with disabilities, and those under the B40 income group. Previously, only Malaysian citizens aged 21 years old and below were eligible for the Pakej Remaja.
As the global landscape changes rapidly, fresh ideas and young voices are needed when finding solutions to crucial impasses involving geopolitical issues. Charged the affairs of the EU delegation to Malaysia, Timo Guzman said, "This is why it is important for world leaders to engage with youths on a regional and global scale."
Times are changing. Also, diplomacy is changing. International relations are changing. The age where diplomacy is about a few diplomats sitting in a closed environment and deciding about the global issues that keep mankind concerned are over. The role of the youth, but also the role of the media, like you, the role of NGOs. All these are new players in international policies. So my very simple answer would be the youth has to make its voice heard, and the youth is making its voice heard.
On the topic of the ongoing crisis in Myanmar, he said that building partnerships between ASEAN nations and the European Union nations are important in finding solutions to peace.
Concretely on Myanmar, peace and prosperity are pillars of our society. EU and ASEAN are two peace projects. So without peace, no prosperity, and without peace, no possibility to work constructively together in ASEAN. EU and ASEAN are natural partners. In order to ensure peace and prosperity in our continents, but also beyond on a global stage, EU and ASEAN are great partners to step up our engagement, to step up our coordination, to step up our dialogues on crucial issues of war and peace. And this is not only something that we should do, but this is actually something that we're doing.
Timo was speaking at the EU-ASEAN Youth Diplomats Program in Kuala Lumpur on Friday. We'll go for a quick break. Stay with us.
Cuaca panas menyebabkan kelumomo, minyak dan kegatalan? Clearman 100% untuk para lelaki. Teknologi anti kelumomo 3 kali ganda. Tiada kelumomo, minyak atau kegatalan dingin pada kulit kepala. Clearman terbukti menewaskan kelumomo.
Welcome back. The World Food Programme's WFP plan to cut food aid to hundreds of thousands of Rohingya refugees living in camps in Bangladesh because of a severe shortfall in funding. The United Nations Food Agency said it will need to cut rations to the refugees to $10 per person from $12 starting next month. That amounts to a 17% cut.
The World Food Programme warned that more cuts will be necessary without new funding by April. It is appealing for $125 million in urgent funding, warning of immense and long-lasting repercussions on food security and nutrition in refugee camps. More than a third of children there are reportedly stunted and underweight. Nearly 1 million of the refugees currently live in crowded conditions in Bangladesh, including many of the hundreds of thousands who fled a deadly crackdown in 2017 by Myanmar's military, which had denied committing crimes against humanity.
The United Nations has launched an appeal for $1 billion in aid to help victims of the most devastating earthquake in Turkey's modern history. The world body said in a statement that the funds would provide humanitarian relief for 3 months to 5.2 million people. The appeal came 2 days after starting a $397 million appeal to help nearly 5 million Syrians across the border. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the $1 billion appeal for Turkey will allow aid groups to rapidly scale up support for government-led relief efforts, including providing food, protection, education, water, and shelter to survivors. The death toll following 2 powerful earthquakes that devastated southern Turkey and northwestern Syria has surpassed 42,000. Many in the affected zones are facing a dire emergency as they try to pick up the pieces in freezing conditions without food, water, and toilets, raising concerns of further disaster from diseases. The World Bank's Malaysia Economic Monitor highlights that the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated digitalization in the country. Senior financial sector specialist Reka Reddy discusses the shift in the way Malaysians engage with digital platforms.
Nearly every Malaysian is online now, with 97% of the population using the internet, up from 84% just 2 years ago. And Malaysians are engaging differently in the digital economy. We have new World Bank data that show that 5 million adults in Malaysia, that is 22% of the population, made their first digital merchant payment after COVID-19 began. And Malaysian businesses have also picked up the pace of digitalization. Business Pulse survey data indicates that a substantial share of Malaysian firms adopted digital platforms and are changing the way they interact with customers with new efforts such as digital marketing.
While Malaysia's growth of digital connectivity is on par with its peers in the region, there is still room for improvement.
We do see some evidence of a digital divide within key groups and across different geographic regions. For example, connectivity is less prevalent in rural areas, and we see that the cost of digital connectivity and speeds are higher in Malaysia relative to some of its peers like China and Thailand. Another example is that of the B40 and the elderly, who are less likely to use digital payments, and that hinders their participation in the digital economy more broadly. And on the business side, we see that smaller firms are much less likely to invest in digital solutions compared to larger firms. Why is that? Lack of funds to adopt digital solutions, and also limitations in digital skills inhibit Malaysians from adopting and using digital services.
That's all on the show for AWANI tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Soraya Mian. We'll see you next week.